Now,
Awesome.
Vonnie and I were chatting a little bit before this. I'm really excited. This is such a great topic, and it's one that I will say Vonnie comes highly acclaimed from some brokers and managers who I really know, like, and trust. So you I can't wait to see what you got. But let me tell you guys all a little bit about Vonnie before we get started. Now, Vonnie Fast is a Cutco Hall of Fame member, the number one rep in Canada. She's consistently the number one rep in Canada, the number 5 rep in the history of Cutco. So, I mean, if you know anything about Cutco and how they build their business out of referrals, you can imagine that Vonnie's going to have some really good tips for you. When Cutco Closing Gifts was piloted in 2007, Vonnie brought the program out to Calgary's realtors and was the first gift consultant in North America to achieve 1 million in gift sales. She's presented her thoughts on businesses as the opening speaker at Cutco's North American Conference, guest speaker at a lot of local Cutco events and real estate offices. Again, that's how Vonnie came through us, through some of our broker managers who were saying, you got to get Vonnie on a webinar because she's that awesome. And what I love about Vonnie and what I love about the bio you wrote is the last bit here. The desire to bring value, a strong belief that business is all about relationships, and a deep commitment to being a student of the business. And realtors, I've been with Royal LePage for going on 12 years now. And the role of realtors, I remember when I started back in 2009, there was a lot of discussion around that role of realtors. A true move from being that sales representative to a trusted advisor.
Resource, yeah.
And I love seeing that. So that's why I'm so excited to welcome you, Vonnie, today to this webinar. And I'll answer the question I see here. Penny, thank you for asking that question. Is this being recorded so we can go back to it? Yes, it is. And you will get the recording. So, I know you're going to want to replay some of, I'm sure you're going to share some scripts and stuff like that with us, Vonnie. You're going to want to replay some of that.
I will. Yep.
Yeah. So, Vonnie, how you doing today?
I'm good. When the knife girl shows up at the meeting, it's going to be a good time, right, Mike? I mean, I am excited. I'm genuinely honored to be a part of this, and this is the first time I've been on the Royal LePage national platform like this. And in terms of this opportunity to give value and just speak from experience that I'm going to do and share some tips, I'm ready to go. So I'm going to dive right in. That's okay.
It's all, yeah, we're all good to go. And I'm going to invite people again. Feel free to keep putting in the chat, switch your chat to all panelists and attendees. If you have questions, we're going to have some time at the end of this for questions. So if you want to get deeper or ask some stuff, I've promised Vonnie that I'm going to represent you guys as the audience here, and I'll grill her. I didn't tell her that in advance, but I'll grill you later, Vonnie. That's
right. And I'll look at the chat too. Feel
just
free
to see I'm not
grill
making stuff
away,
up.
grill away.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, I'm going to dive right in. So you know what? Just so you guys I have it, know what to expect from this. This should be about. I'm probably going to share some tips for about 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. I'll talk a little bit about Cutco gifts at the very end, just last couple of minutes, just so I can educate you guys a little bit on how we can support you with giving gifts that help you build a resilient repeat and referral-based business. But that being said, the 30 minutes that I'm going to share, like really the majority of this is it's about, I'm going to share 3 simple disciplines to deepen client relationships right now so that you can measurably increase your repeat and referral-based business this year. Sound good, you guys? Because I think, yes, I sell Cutco gifts, but my real business is client loyalty and referrals. Everything that I do in the industry and that my team does in the industry, whether it's coming on a webinar like this and sharing tips that we do in our business, which is very similar to yours, which I'll speak to in a moment, that I know other top agents we work with are doing in their business. So whether it's coming on to a webinar like this or getting you gifts that are memorable and last, whatever I'm doing in the industry is in service to helping you guys build a kick butt repeat and referral business. That's what I'm in service to every single day, all the time. That's my purpose. And I will tell you, why should you listen to me? I'm the knife girl. I'm not a realtor. But here's the thing, my business is very similar to yours. I just sell different things. Yeah, my business model is very similar. And I've been an entrepreneur. I run my own business for 27 years. They gave me a bag of Cutco knives when I was 4. And they said, hey, good luck to you. Go ahead and sell that stuff. And I just kidding. I was 18 when I started my business selling Cutco, and I actually never wanted to be in sales. I never wanted to be a speaker, nothing like that. Look at me now, 27 years later. But I will tell you what I did want when I started running my own business part-time as a Cutco rep was I wanted resume experience. That was it. That was how I started. And I was just going to do it for a summer part-time and then quit, kind of let it go and just put it on my resume. But one thing led to another. And here I am. I loved the relationship building side of it. I just realized as I was doing it that first summer that that was the thing I loved about it. It was building relationships. And so the interesting thing is my business is really similar to yours, I said. There's one key difference is we weren't allowed as Cutco reps, and still there's restrictions to this day for us. We weren't allowed to build our business or market our products or services in any other way other than asking for referrals. So it was me, a sample kit full of sharp, shiny knives, calling my friends and family, sitting down at the kitchen table with them, much like you do, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, listing or buying presentation, but mine was a knife education presentation, and sitting down with them. We weren't allowed to cold call, door knock, websites, nothing like that was allowed. Online lead generation was unheard of, which we aren't allowed to, social media wasn't even in existence. It was asking for referrals from that presentation to their friends and family, sitting down with those people, asking for referrals, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to drop a few nuggets on referrals, like Mike said, throughout this presentation, especially point number 3 when we get there. Because for me, it was sink or swim. I actually knew no other way than this is how we do business. We ask for referrals. And so I had to learn how to get really good at it, because otherwise I wasn't able to do my presentations. And so in my first 15 years, and I'm 27 years a business owner with Cutco total, but my first 15 years, I ended up building my database to 3,000 clients, almost 100% through referral. And that's no lie. So I'm going to drop a couple nuggets for you here today of what I learned and the things that made the biggest difference for that. Because I would imagine some of us are on this going, I'm still hesitant to ask for referrals, or I want more referral business. If I want to, if you could increase your referral business by 50% this year, let alone 100%, I mean, would that even make a big difference for you in your quality of business, quality of life, and the amount of business you're able to do? And I'm sure it would. So, and just really quick to finish off the history, and then we'll dive in to the tips, is the last 13 years, Cutco came out with a program called Cutco Closing Gifts. And I had done in-home sales and service for 15 years through referral only. Cutco came out with a program called Cutco Closing Gifts and invited all the top reps. Some of you might know other Cutco reps, all the top reps across North America to bring that program to their local market. And hence here we are today. And myself and a few colleagues have now been able to support over 4,000 realtors in Canada. Many of them Royal LePage. You are one of our incredible partners. 4,000 realtors across Canada with their closing and referral gifts. So that's kind of my history, but enough about me. Whether you're new in this business or you're a few years in or you're a couple decades like me, what I'm going to share with you is you can apply right now today is, because this talk is about getting more from what you already have. And you might say to me, well, what do I already have? I'm brand new. We all have relationships, whether you have a database or you're just brand new and you have a sphere of people, your friends, family, inner circle, your people on social media that you engage with. We all have relationships in our lives. And one of my favorite quotes, and actually I'm sure many of you would agree when I say this, is I believe, and we believe, our relationships are our most valuable asset. We are in a people business more than anything else. And I'm just going to share my screen because I love this quote so much. From Scott Stratton, he's one of my heroes. He wrote on marketing, if you believe business is about relationships, make building them your business. And this quote always brings me back to what the essence of my business is all about. And it keeps me on track. It keeps me focused and keeps me from making things too complicated. And so I'm going to go in and out of slides here, by the way, you guys. But if you believe business is about relationships, simply make building them your business. So point number 1, and I will tell you, none of this is rocket science. You've heard it all before, but are we doing it? Number 1, pick up the phone and call your people, your past clients, your sphere. engage. Now, if you hate calling it, if it makes you sick to your stomach, which I think a small percentage of people it does, then text, Facebook message, bomb. I sent my first 3 bomb videos this morning. I signed up for bomb. Like before that, I was doing video texts to my clients like, hey, I was thinking of you, just appreciate you, sent you a 30-second video text. So simple. And the goal is, no matter what medium you use to engage with your clients, the goal is meaningful engagement. That is it. And I think sometimes we make this complicated. You know, I will tell you, just let me ask you, when is the last time you called 10 of your past clients, or checked in with them, or texted them, or sent them a video, or just talked to them? You know, during COVID, this whole last year, I believe it's such a special time to connect with people. It's been driving me all year in some way to connect. And here's what happened for me is when COVID hit, it brought a lot of uncertainty for all of us. I don't know anybody that wasn't faced and still with uncertainty. And I'm 27 years a business owner, and I was filled with doubt at the beginning of this COVID thing. I started to not trust processes I've trusted for years and questioning myself. But I knew one thing. I knew relationships are everything and connection is key. And so what I did at the beginning of COVID, I printed off my client list, my realtor clients and mortgage broker clients of 13 years, 1,500 people, and just started calling them from the top down. You can see all the notes and it wasn't super systemized. It wasn't super thought out, but it was thoughtful. And it reminded me, I've always been good at follow-up, but I had gotten away from some of that in my business as it got busier and busier. And I was just, my calls they sounded like this. Hey, Mike, how's it going? You know what? I'm not trying to sell you anything. I mean, if you need something, I got your back. We're on top of everything for you, but how's your family? Do you have toilet paper? Like, is there anything you need? Like, or can we support you? Like, how are you? And the calls are very similar to this day. You know, hey, Karen, how's it going? Checking in. How are your gifts? Are they going well? Great. How's your family? You know, how's everything? How are you managing through this COVID thing? That's it. And I think sometimes we talk ourselves out of these calls, because I'm not immune to that, by the way. I can easily say to you, make 10 calls a day, or make 5, 10 past clients calls a day, or whatever your number is. And the reason I speak on this is because it keeps me on track to keep doing this, because sometimes I get to a name on my list and I go, ooh, this is actually a true story from last April. Oh, she hasn't ordered gifts in a while. Ooh, I wonder if she's going to think I'm just trying to sell her something. I mean, I don't want to come. I mean, also everyone's struggling right now, especially my realtors. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to bother them. They don't want to hear from their knife girl. I'm sure you go through similar, like they don't want to hear from their realtor. I mean, I don't want to bother them. I will tell you a very high, I don't know the stat, but there is a high percentage stat of people that indicate they want to hear from you again. But I think I'm not immune to that self-talk. Finally, I told myself to shut up and just text my client. And I actually chose texting at that moment, not calling, but I texted her. I said, hey, Kathy, thinking about you. I just wanted let's get that coffee that we've been talking about doing for on Zoom. Let's do it. I'd love to connect. I can give you updates if you want on the gifts, but I really just want to connect. And it came from the heart. And she texted me back. She's like, I'd love to. It's crazy right now, but I'd love to see your smiling face. Let's do it. And we ended up on Zoom and we talked for like 45 minutes. It was the deepest connection we've ever had. And half an hour in, I didn't have to sell her on our gifts or resell her. She knows what I do. She brought it up. Half an hour in, she goes, there was a pause. She goes, Vonny, and I honestly don't know why I got away from the gifts. I know I haven't ordered in a while. She's like, but I loved having them on hand and they were great and people loved them. And I could still personalize when I wanted to. I could add, but I wasn't like running around trying to figure out. And she's like, how are people doing the engraving right now? Are they like, can I change my font and then I just got to educate her on what other agents were doing. And it turned into an order that was 4 times our average order size, right in the middle of smack dab COVID lockdown, April. So just imagine if you talk to 10 of your past clients, like just imagine if somebody you called today turned into 4 times your average listing. I mean, just for reaching out. And here's what I noticed, and I'll finish this point off, is I noticed as I was making all these calls, and I still am doing it, I focus on 50 to 150 touches of my past clients and strategic partners every single week. Is as I was making these calls last year, I noticed a few months before the market ticked up here in Calgary that a bunch of clients were ordering gifts that I had talked to 3 or 4 months prior that indicated at the time no need for gifts. And it was amazing to see that trajectory. And so here's my question for you. Well, if I told you for every 10 calls you made, you would get one deal or one referral, we couldn't make those calls fast enough. But the thing is, it doesn't always happen right away. It doesn't always happen in the short term. And so my practice in business is always, and I know you guys have heard this before, is focus on the tiny, daily, consistent, sometimes boring, like it's not glamorous, tiny, daily, consistent activities, rinse and repeat, and watch the magic happen and the exponential compound effect over time. And I do my best. One of my practices in business is to detach from the short term results so that as I'm doing the activities, we're playing the long game here. I see that stuff come back long time for sometimes short term, sometimes long term, but just to detach from short term results, focus on the tiny, daily, consistent activities. So one last tip I'll give on talking to your past clients is, I mean, how can I be real? Just show up in their lives. You're human first before you're a realtor. You know, a realtor said that to me. I'm human first before I'm a realtor. I'm going to check in with them. But one thing that's really good to keep in mind is ask yourself, how can I bring value before you call? Sometimes the only reason it's awkward when you call is because you don't have a reason to call. So just create the reason. And what I mean by that is maybe you create a frequently asked questions sheet that you offer to them. Maybe you have a newsletter and you offer to send it to them and just update their email so you can update your CRM, and that's the reason for your call. Maybe you offer a CMA over Zoom or a real estate review for them. You know, maybe you can connect them to somebody in your network. Ask if they have questions right now, because there's probably tons of questions they have, right? And that you can be their resource. So the feeling you want to leave people with, people remember feelings more than anything else. The feeling you want to leave them with is, I care about you. I'm a resource. Whether we buy or sell it together again in the future, I'm a resource for you. And that's what Mike was talking about at the very beginning.
I got a couple questions, Vonny, if you want to take a couple questions at this moment.
Yeah.
So I think a good question here that came in is, just the question is just saying, I limit myself to talking about business and not personal unless the client initiates. Is that abnormal? And I thought that was a great question for, again, that pushing through. Now, this comes from Ian Humphrey, Royal LePage Noralta out in Edmonton.
Yeah,
so,
good question. I don't think it's abnormal. I mean, it depends how your clients know you and kind of relate to you, and you've gone through an experience with them that's probably deeply personal, but, buying or selling their most important, their home. But I think, I tend to go on more the personal and professional. I don't separate them so much. Like, who I am is like, how's your family? How are you? How's this? And how's your gifts? How's everything? But Ian, I think it's great. Like, whatever you feel most authentic about or most comfortable with, I think that's where I would go with it. I think it's not abnormal. I think, I think it's great also to follow the client lead on that. If they start talking about their family, then that allows you to go into something more personal.
I think there's a question in there also, Vonny, of I know, and I'll speak myself with some experience that I've had with talking to realtors about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is sometimes there's a desire to be a little bit reserved, right? About, well, how much do I want to share about myself? Right. Like, I know, when social media, you and I were chatting before, but when social media started coming out, it was like, don't talk about, everything's sunshine and rainbows. That's what you're going to talk about. Right. And, I always encourage agents. I said, look, if it's something really important, like I know some realtors who said, I don't want to put myself having a beer on a Friday. I said, look, like you said, you're a human and you're allowed to relax. And if somebody sees that and goes, well, I can't stand that, then I go, you probably don't want to work with that person anyways. Right. So the question kind of to me is like, I mean, how do you kind of keep yourself reserved? Like, how do you, or with you and your client, I mean, are you totally open? Do you talk about anything? Or, what if I want to keep a little bit of distance?
Yeah, I guess every conversation is a little bit different. I'm not going to necessarily, I mean, if they start opening up about, like I said, I've had some deep connections in the last year where people have opened up about anxiety, depression, exhaustion, and I think, I'm not necessarily going to call and go, hey, Ian, how's it going? Yeah, I'm really struggling right now. Like I'm not, but if they bring it up, I'm going to check in and I'm going to make it about them. How are you? Like, I think what guides me in my interactions with people, whatever comes up in the content of that interaction, whether it's totally just business or whether it's like, I think everyone's different is going to respond, is I come in with the intention of how can I bring value? How can I be there? How can I be a trusted resource? How can I help? How can I serve? I ask myself that question before I pick up the phone and call. And wherever that client leads me is where I'm going to go with them. And I think for me, I want as authentic of interactions as possible, whether we're just talking about the gifts, whether we're talking about our families, whether I'm sharing about my cat. Like I do let the client lead. That's actually a really good point. But I come with this, how can I bring value? And however that shows up, sometimes the best interactions, like with this lady, with this client, Kathy, she was very open about what was going on in her life. And so I was there as well. And I think when you have opportunities to go there with clients, don't hesitate. But I don't know if that answers, but I let the
I think
client.
it's a tough discussion, and some people are open to, but it's a mirroring, right? It's a mirroring of
It
saying,
is.
hey, I'm going
That's
to help open with you. I got another great question here in terms of that, because you showed us your list,
yeah.
and and the question just comes like, how many times per year are you actually reaching out to that same client? How often do you send them a message? Now, this is coming from Nancy White, Royal LePage Locations West, I do believe. I had it Locations West. So how often are you reaching out to these people?
Yeah, every day. Just kidding. I would
That's too
say,
much, Vonny.
yes,
Stop
I'm with you.
calling. Just too much.
I don't have a set system as in like I'm calling this client 4 times a year or anything. I know some agents do that, and whatever
Yep.
system works for you, I kind of keep track of my touches. But I'll do, it's important to me to, I mean, my clients order also once every maybe 6 months to a year or so. Sometimes I'm in touch with them about that. We do a follow-up call after they get their gifts, just make sure everything's good there. They're on an email drip series, things like that. So, I mean, I don't feel like I need to call them 4 times a year, but if I had to put a number to it, I want to touch them in value adding ways, like personally. At least once a year, I'm connecting with them on the phone or via maybe even outside of their gift order, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I'm just checking in with them. I mean, I do go down my list and go, and this is going to tie in with the next point. I'll go, I sent that one a gift. I loved on that person a little bit more. I sent a handwritten card to that person. I called that person, called. And again, I'm not a super spreadsheet systemized. I track my activity, but I want to make sure if I see somebody on my list, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have not talked to that client in like a year or a year and a half or two. I'm going to give them a call or a text. Like, there's some level of like once a year, at least I'm engaging with that client, hopefully more.
And a great point here from Don Marie, just saying, come with value, leave the conversation, leave the conversation with feeling. That's a pretty cool statement.
Yeah. And I think come with value. It's so much easier, you guys, for at least it's so much easier to reach out to a client when I'm thinking, how can I serve versus what can I get? That's where it's unaligned for me. So I'm completely aligned and I'm not perfect at it, you guys. Like, do I always come from this incredible selfless place? But I don't know, but I always try to come from this place of how can I serve? And when I have that in mind, even for this presentation, how can I serve? Like it's just so much more aligned for me and it's so much better. And the feeling you want to leave people with, because they remember feelings, is I got your back. Whether you buy or sell with me again, I've got your back. I care about you. Care is Gary Vaynerchuk says this, the best marketing strategy of all time is still care. Like, just care about your people. Yep.
There's a couple more questions, but I want you to get on to the point number 2. I'll take the questions and note, and I'll come back to them later on,
Yeah,
if that's cool with you.
that sounds good. And point number 2 is about care. It's about love. Yes, I'm going to talk about love. And again, everything that I am sharing, I am not perfect at, but my point number 2 is love on your tribe, love on your people, show genuine gratitude. And what I mean by this is I think it's always one of our deepest needs as human beings is to feel appreciated and acknowledged. Think of your relationships, your spouse, you want to feel acknowledged, heard, seen, appreciated. And I do think during COVID, again, I think, sorry, I see this as such a silver lining sometimes, or special opportunity to show people to, especially, it's a vital time, I think, right now, to let your clients know, let your people know that you appreciate them for choosing you, that you appreciate them, that you acknowledge them for referring you. And I know many of you, what I know of Royal LePage and the culture and the people I work with, you're already incredibly generous. But here's the thing. Why do good clients leave? There's 2 main reasons. I'm going to share my screen because I think these are really important. There's 2 main reasons that I know of why, and I've had good clients leave. None of us are immune to this, but the first reason, I'm going to share the second reason in a bit. 68% of consumers leave their salesperson because they feel you're indifferent to the relationship. Now you're not, you do care, right? But this is a perceived indifference. So how do we combat this? Well, number 1, we check in with our clients. Hey, how's it going? Checking in. Do you have any real estate questions? If you want to keep it on that professional front like that, what we just talked about, you check in to combat that perceived indifference. And then we got to make people feel like they count, like they matter to us, like they're special. And I could go through numerous touch point strategies with you here today, and I'm not going to go into detail, but I could go through, you've heard them all before: handwritten thank you cards, birthday texts, a little appreciation video. Like I just taught, hey, thinking of you, just, one thing I appreciate about you is this, just wanted to send that your way, or, hey, thinking of you, if you have any questions, I've got your back. Handwritten cards. If you've never ever done a gratitude project where you write 2 handwritten cards a day for 3 months to your your clients and just say, I just want to say thank you for acknowledging. One of the top agents here in Calgary, Donna Rooney, I know she writes she used to write, I don't know if she still does, 700 cards a year, like Christmas cards out to her clients, just appreciating them, acknowledging them. If you've never done that, it's a powerful thing. Care packages, little things, that's very Buffini to talk about that. Gifts, we're in the gifting business. We get it. Client parties, they're not happening right now. You can't host a client party. Maybe you put some of that into, unexpected little drop-offs or care packages. I made homemade energy balls last night. I'm sending 5 or 6 homemade energy ball packages out to some of my top clients in the next few days, just going, your energy, like you've been giving so much, here's some for you, some energy, like something like that. We were doing bath bombs. Like we just bought some bath bombs, send out to some of our clients, you're the bomb. Like little things to let people know that we care and that we appreciate them. But here's the thing. I know 90% of us don't get to step 1 on this, which is to identify your best clients, your gold group, your A-list, your VIPs. And if you're new, maybe it's 2 or 3 or 5 people on your list that you want to be in your gold group. But if you're a couple years in, or you've got a bit of a database going, this might be 2 people, maybe 5, might be 10. If you're a number of years in, it might be 50 people. And why do I say it's important to identify your A-list? And some of you have done this already, but I'm saying this because I procrastinated it for years. I'm telling you guys all my weaknesses. It took me 5 years into this industry, so 7 years ago. I knew it was important. And the reason I think it's important to designate and highlight and make a list of your VIPs to love on them a little extra is because of this. We all know the 80-20 rule. Chances are 20% of our people give us 80% of our referrals in business. 10% gives 90%. It's pretty powerful, and what you focus on expands. We have limited, as entrepreneurs and humans, we have limited energy, time, money, resources. So I'm going to make everybody that walks through my doors feel important, respected, love on them as much as possible, get their orders out on time, and I'm also going to love on my top 20%, my VIPs, my tribe, a little extra. They're the people that are going to get a little more value from me, a little extra love, a little extra appreciation, because what I focus on expands. And these are literally the people that will stand for you, refer you, and tell your story. Is 7 years ago, I finally made this list, and they ended up being 75 of my top clients. This list, these were people that were just going to bat for me without me even asking, ordering consistently, referring me. And it wasn't epic. I just finally wrote a letter to those top 75 people, agents, and I shared with them that they were my gold group. They were the reason that I loved doing what I did. I sent them a $5 Starbucks gift card. It wasn't epic. Just, I told them I was donating to charity on their behalf. And since then I've done little things for my gold group, and our gold group has grown to over 200 people. Like now I got to create a diamond group of like it's so cool. What you focus on expands. And, make a list. Start your VIP list today, if you haven't already, of your best past clients. Who are your best past clients? Who are your top referral sources? And start loving on them a little bit more. Do your best clients know how important they are to you? And I'll share with you one way we can support you in this. And you could do this with another gift. Don't get me wrong. I just want to share one way how we can support you is we've had a number of realtors and mortgage brokers. We've always done this, but especially this last year. And I think it's because people are cooking so much more and COVID time. But we've been able to support you guys with, like, we've had some realtors ordering individual pieces of Cutco. By the way, somebody asked, what is Cutco? This is Cutco. Individual pieces like this, or the spreader with like, thanks for spreading the word, or personalized to the client's name. I know, super cheesy, thanks for spreading the word, or individual pieces of Cutco. And what they'll do is they'll order those from us and send them out of the blue to their best past referral sources or best past clients with a letter. Now we provide the letter template. It's called the A client letter or the gold group letter. And it goes something like this, and it can be tweaked. You can tweak it, personalize it, print it, give it the gift. But it says this: thank you so much for your support, loyalty, and referrals through the years. I cannot thank you enough. Please accept this small token of my appreciation from our home to yours. We love our Cutco. Whatever's real, our client would put in the letter. I imagine you might be cooking a lot more at this time. I know we are. So from my home to yours. And it basically, the letter comes from pure gratitude. And on the bottom of the letter, it says this: P.S. For every additional qualified referral you send my way, I'll be adding more Cutco to your set as a small token of my appreciation. And shows the full collection they can build with you through time. So it's pretty cool. It just plants the seed. So we've been able to support some of our realtors and mortgage workers with getting them individual pieces of Cutco that they can send with a beautiful letter to their best past clients out of the blue, best past referral sources, to start their clients' collection, and then build from there as their clients continue to refer them or come back to them through the years. So bottom line, giving doesn't have to be epic. It doesn't have to be even, it can be free. It can be a well-timed phone call where you just check in. It can be a handwritten card like we talked about. It can be care packages. It can be gifts. It can be out of the blue closing and referral gifts. It can be out of the blue gifts. You can DIY it. You can hire it out. But one of my favorite quotes to keep in mind in my business, at least, is giving starts the receiving process. No strings attached is the key to that. Giving starts the receiving process. And to me, that's how you create an army of advocates, is giving like that. All right, I'm going to go into point number 3 in a moment here on referrals. And yeah, so do we want to take, I've
got questions for sure, of course.
Yeah. Awesome.
I wanted to know, actually, and, sometimes I'll ask questions, but I had a question that came to mind, because I know that there's some people on this webinar who are brand new agents. Right. And, you're talking about, like, when you say 75 people in your, like,
right.
Some of those new agents are like 75. Yeah. Like, what are you not? So how, if I'm a brand new real estate agent, and I started yesterday, and sure, every new real estate agent should sit down and go, here's my sphere of influence, right? And actually write it down. The people I know from, church and the groups and all this, that, and the other. But how do they start identifying these top 20 when they don't really know? Because this isn't a 6-month cycle for them. So how can they start identifying these people? What are the signs for you that somebody might be moving into that gold or diamond club?
That's great. Like, it's a great question. And when you're new, it might just be people that you're like, I can see that person. You know, I guess that at first it would be the initial interaction with that client. Like, if it's your sphere, you're not going to really have like a gold group yet. It's going to take like a year or two before you're like, it's these 5 people, because I've gone through a process, or the purchaser, whatever, of their home with them, and they were incredible. We got along, we connected. They have a big sphere of people themselves. So if I remain in contact with them and love on them, like I've heard from agents, just like, there's certain clients that that there's certain clients you maybe don't want to work with very much more in the future. And there's certain clients that you do. So, but when your brand's spanking new, I think it really is simply about making that sphere list and engaging with those clients. Your gold group is going to come out of that. So really, point number 2, you're going to love on people, you're going to respect people, you're going to respond to people, and do incredible service and deliver the unexpected. And that your gold group will emerge from that, but it's going to take a while. It's going to, and you might put people on your list like, I want to work with that person. I want to work with that person. Then that might be a budding gold group. Like, even I've had some people I've identified, like some of my top agents, that maybe they've only ordered once from us. Usually on our gold group, they've ordered maybe 3 or 4 times or whatever. But I've had some top agents order with us. We totally connected. They've ordered once or twice. I put them on my gold group. I'm like, that person, I'm just gonna, nurture that relationship even more. But we do have some criteria for us. But you're right, our business is a little different. That sales cycle is a little bit different, where they're
What's
on
the
our
criteria? I want to know the criteria. What is the criteria? Are you
yeah
willing to share that? Sorry,
yeah
you spilled
like
that.
yeah, it's not super set in stone. It's sometimes but yeah, if they've ordered like 3 or 4 times, like they're going to go into our like silver/gold level. And then I've had clients that are now in the platinum, where that I have like diamond or platinum, where they've ordered from me consistently for 12 years. Like, I literally, I won't say her name, but I had a lady, I was starting to love on her. She was like in the gold group. She'd ordered 3 or 4 times. It was a number of years ago. She was on that initial list. And she's a well-respected agent here in Calgary, 30 years in the business. And I was loving on her a little bit more. We were developing this awesome relationship. And I was doing this presentation to a group of realtors. It was about 20 people in the room. And I was doing my thing. I was kind of sharing the gift program or whatever. And unbeknownst to me, right towards the very end, she literally stands up and she goes, everyone here, I'm just going to say this one thing. And she did not she just said, you have to do these gifts. She's like, I've been putting a piece of cocoa in my basket for however many years, 3 years, whatever. And she's like, and I've gotten deals and referrals, and people tell me they go to this knife and they remember me every time in the whatever. And almost every single realtor in that room gave me their card to follow up, because she had literally taken a stand for me. So it's people like that 12 years in that are just like, now go into kind of like this, I can't even believe who you are to me and how you have
To the moon group.
platinum group. But yeah, if there are 3 or 4 orders consistently, they're going to go into that gold group, and we're going to keep nurturing that. I mean, I'll nurture all my relationships, but
the question that prompted me to ask this was the question on the other side, which I think you might see in the chat. But for past clients you haven't reached out in a few years, how do I break that ice and make that initial contact? And this is a great question. Chris Peters, Royal LePage Atlantic. This is a great question. This is the block, right?
I get it. It's funny. One of my diamond group realtors, we were having coffee once a year or whatever, we talk, and he had this issue where he hadn't like talked to some of his clients for a long time. You know what? I think it's just one of my favorite quotes is also from Scott Stratton. If you are your authentic self, you have no competition. I love that quote, because you know what? Just name it. Name the elephant in the room. That's what I would do. And I'm, again, not perfect at this, but I'd be like, hey, Mike, is Vonny calling? you're a realtor from 5 years ago. And I will tell you, I cannot believe I haven't talked to you in 5 years. I just thought this was a good time to check in with you. How are you doing through this whole COVID thing? Do you have any real estate questions that I can support you with? I just wanted to make sure to connect, because I had been out of touch with you. Like, I would call it. I mean, you don't have to belittle yourself or anything. You could just make it sound, but just be like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 5 years. I really think I really thought of you today, and it was time for me to. I think one of the greatest ways to begin a conversation is, I was thinking of you today. And I know we haven't talked in 5 years, but I was like, what a great time to actually call you and connect. I hope you don't mind. How are you? Like, I think just naming it.
Yeah,
How are
I was
you doing?
thinking of you today.
Yeah, I don't think you have to be apologetic unless that's really real for you, but just call it, name it. And I was thinking of you today, because obviously you were, if you were about to call them. So just, I get the block, and just try to get past it.
I love that. I love, like you said, I think that's, I was going for the scriptiness there, because that can help push past that. So
Yeah,
I was thinking of you today, and I thought it was a great time to give you a call and see how you're doing. Right.
yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right. The other question I have here from is, about mailing lists. Do you have a mailing list? Do you use it regularly? This is coming from Michelle Lebrec, Meller Group out in Westmount, Royal LePage, Héritage.
Yeah, you know what? I do. I mean, we don't do a lot of direct mail stuff. That might be a little different in our business too. I have done direct mail, and usually it's top 250 clients that we will do some direct mail out or something like that. But during COVID, I've actually opted for more micro appreciation things and different things, little care packages, rather than direct mail. That's us. That's just me, in the last year and a bit. But yeah, if we've done mail outs, it's usually to, like, top 250 ones. I think we sent to 600 of our clients. Like, I know I have a large database I'm talking about here, but I know a lot of realtors that do have a mailing list and send out, you know, quarterly or whatever newsletters and things like that, still paper form, to their clients. I think it's a valuable thing. However you can touch your clients, whether it's direct mail, tangibly, email, you know, connecting with people that way, text, call. I think all of it is a good thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the next question, I think, is what's coming into your point three, which is just
Yeah.
from Jandy here, Royal LePage Coast Capital. How do you ask for referrals? So I think that's point three, right?
As point three, let's talk about referrals. So in order to build a resilient repeat and referral business, we're talking to our past clients. We're staying connected. If you're new in the business, you got it on your docket to stay connected with the people that you're working with, your sphere. And as you build your database, you're staying connected to those people through email, calls, texts, all that. You're loving on your tribe as they begin to emerge, your top 10, 20%. You're loving on those people and showing appreciation and acknowledgement. And the clients you're currently working with, showing love and appreciation to them. And finally, after all that giving, all that value, all that showing up in people's lives, you can absolutely ask for referrals. I think for me, I know that I'm a better giver than I am a receiver or ask for something. That being said, always give more than you ask for, but it's okay to ask when you've been giving so much. I think in any relationship, it's okay to ask. I think sometimes it's vulnerable to ask, right? Because, I mean, how many of you have hesitated from asking for referrals? It's just, it can be awkward, right? And I think sometimes I'm like, oh, it's so un-Canadian to ask. I don't know, it gets in our way sometimes. And the thing is, I could ask some of the veterans on this webinar, is how many of you have gotten referrals and never even asked, or didn't have to ask for those? Some referrals are going to come your way just because of how you showed up for a client, how you delivered the experience, how you came through for them. Like, you moved mountains to make, you will get referrals just by doing a great job. But where I go with it is, how many referrals have we left off the table because we just didn't ask or plant the seed properly on the front end? So here's what I learned. This shy, awkward kid, when I was 18, here's how I learned how to get 7 average. These were my stats eventually. 7 average written down referrals per presentation I did with Mr. and Mrs. Jones, whether they bought or not. The 2 points, the game changers for me, were: number one, practice your ask. Script it out on a piece of paper and practice how, behind the scenes, how you're going to ask for referrals. Now, somebody asked, how do you ask? I'm happy to send you scripts, and I'll give you an opportunity to text me at the end here. But your ask has to be yours. We've talked about authenticity. And so for me, mine would be something like, hey, Jacqueline, I can't believe we've worked together for 2 years already, and I haven't asked you for referrals. Let me just ask you, referrals are the most important thing to me. Out of your family and friends and colleagues, people that you know, is there anyone, who do you know right now that might be looking to buy or sell in the next 6 months to a year, or might have real estate questions that I could support, that you'd feel comfortable referring me to? Script that out, script out your ask and practice it behind the scenes. Because I think what happens is we get in these moments and people are, conditions come off and they're excited, or you're handing over the gift or whatever. And you're just like, so I feel like I should ask for referrals right now, but you haven't really practiced it, where you've gained this confidence before you step on stage. Memorize your lines so that you can be confident when that opportunity comes up to ask. So that would be my first tip, is practice your ask behind the scenes. And the second, and to me, planting the seed before you ever ask is the most beautiful way to pave the way. And I used to do this on every Cutco presentation I did back in the home with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. I let them know on the front end, after I got to know them a little bit, before I started showing them the Cutco, I shared with them how important referrals were to me. Tom Story, one of our clients, whom I love, does this beautifully. And my understanding, I'm going to share my screen with you of how he does it. I hope I'm representing him very well here. Is when you plant the seed on the front end and let people know how important referrals are to you. Now, the key is, in your business, I think what's most important, and I know Tom does this, before he brings up what's important to him, he asks them first what's really important to them first. And then I think he asks, my understanding is he asks, if in a dream world, in your ideal world, how would this go for you, the buying or selling of your home, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer Lister? And he sits back and listens to, and so he can get to the heart of what's important to them first. And then I think my understanding is Tom added this to his listing or buying presentation last year and increased his referral business by 46%. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer Seller, my business is based on referral, 86%, or whatever the stat, whatever is true for you is. And so my goal here isn't just to sell your house and be gone. Is my main goal is to do such a good job for you that you can't help but refer me to your friends and family. And so I'm going to earn that right. That's my goal, because referrals are so important to me. And it's how you frame that on the front end. Let them know. What that does is it lets them know your business model on the front end and what matters to you too. And then they have all the time throughout that buying or selling process to refer you, and you can gently nudge or ask throughout in great ways. So number one, practice your ask behind the scenes. Number two, plant the seed. All right. And I know, and are there any, I'm gonna pretty much summarize and start to wrap up here, unless there's any questions on that side of things.
Not at this point. I mean, I was curious to see how that started. And again, I love the idea, like you said, of plant the seed. Don't wait until we want the referral. Plant the seed.
Right.
Let them know that you work for more than just their business. And, I remember I saw that in the past, I saw somebody present something similar like this. And she actually said, I'm going to say it. It's not going to sound good because I don't believe it. She's like, I'm not a realtor and I know that's not the case. So she said, you really have to believe you're bringing the value. Right. And it reminded me of Jamie Nowak from Buffini and Company, who actually used to say before she would walk into a listing presentation, she'd stop at the door and say, it is their lucky day, because they get to meet a true professional. And she said, but it took a long time for her to feel that she had that value. And I know, as somebody who has referred people to, I'll tell you, one time I was passing by somebody's office and they were like, oh, and I was like, what's going on? They're like, oh, my mortgage broker, just terrible. And I was like, I have the person for you. Let me solve your problem. Right. And nothing makes you feel better. So, plant that seed, practice your ask. I love that. And then just a question about just saying, can we just those 3 points, we want to get that through the presentation. So I want to do it.
Yeah.
Or if you
So
want,
in summary, right?
yeah,
Pick up the phone, call 10 past clients a day. And if you're so smoking busy you can't even see straight, make it 2 past clients a day, but always have it, or even in your slow times, make it like a more of a priority. I always have it on my docket. I don't, is to talk to my past clients. So talk and keep engaging with your clients. Number 2, love on your tribe, love on your people, show genuine gratitude and appreciation. And number 3 is get good at asking for referrals and planting the seed. And that is a skill that you can absolutely learn. But yes, I agree with Mike, is you have to believe you're worthy of the referral that you're bringing. So it's a comprehensive thing where if you're learning and being a student of the business, like you guys, even just being on this webinar today shows me that you're a student of the business and you're continually learning wherever you're at in the business. So your skill will increase. And I get what, it does sometimes take a little bit of time to recognize your own value of what you can provide for people. And then it gets easier and easier to ask for referrals and plant the seed. But it's okay to start practicing that skill right now so you're ready to do it. And I'm going to tell one last story on that, and then I'm going to wrap up in the last couple minutes. How are we for time? Are we good? We're good, right?
well, it's 2:52 here, so we got 8 minutes or so.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with a quick share on our gifts and how we can support you guys. Obviously, I'm passionate about making sure your clients stay your clients forever, and that's not easy to do, right? We talked about that. And do you guys know, remember I said there was 2 reasons why people don't come back to their realtor? Here's the second one. And as I'm sure some of you know, here's the second reason. 86% of people intend to use their realtor again. 9% remember your name after 2 years. It's nuts. When I saw that, I couldn't believe it. But it's not personal. We just forget things. Oh my gosh, my realtor was amazing. What was his name again? Shoot. And so where we went with this is, what if your gifts could help? Here, I'll actually stay on this slide. What if your gifts could help? Because here, when we came into the industry, we found most agents, what they were doing is when they were giving a gift, they were giving baskets, gift cards, bottles of wine, dinner out, things like that. Those are great, you guys. They're great gifts. But what happens to most gifts? 90% of gifts are consumed right away, right? You give it, they like it, they eat it, drink it, spend it, it's gone. There's nothing left to remind the client of the experience they had with you. And not that the gift is about you, it's about them. But we wanted to change the game on that. We wanted to get you something really memorable. And that's why we partnered with Cutco. And for those of you guys that don't know Cutco, somebody asked, I'm just going to cut a penny so you guys actually know. Cutco is like I've actually cut over 2,000 pennies with these and they've never been sharpened or serviced. Cutco is like the Rolex or Ferrari or Snap-on tools of kitchen knives. They're super high quality. They're guaranteed forever beyond a lifetime. We actually looked around to find other high quality caliber, this caliber of product that people would use every day for the rest of their lives. 30 years, we couldn't find anything that could be branded or personalized in such a classy way. And so that's really, we do have custom wood boards, which I'll show you, but Cutco was really the only, it is guaranteed forever. People pass it down to their kids and they use it every single day. And so basically for realtors, what we did is we curated out of our line the most popular tools, the ones we knew everyone would use every day all the time. And we put them into gift packages between 70 to 270 right in there. So you could pick and choose a gift according to your budget and start clients with that piece or 2 pieces or whatever, that gift, and go from there. And we have the ability, as many of you know or can see there, to brand however you like. We can brand your logo with gratitude, your name in a super classy way, or we can even personalize for a little extra cost, personalize to the client's name. And what that does, a couple things for you. First, it creates top of mind awareness. Every time they use the gift you gave them, they remember the experience. They remember everything. They'll never, ever forget, day in, day out, year in, year out. And also, what's the most used room in the home? It's not the bathroom, it's the kitchen where everybody hangs out. So these do have this ability to spark conversation. One of my clients told me they got 4 consecutive deals from a conversation that started about the knives at a dinner party he wasn't even at, and that led to deals. And so pretty powerful to have something in there that's in the most prominent room. And the last thing this does for you is we help create a system. I don't know how many of you have ever run around trying to figure out a gift at the last minute. We get you. We know you've been there. And so what we do is we set you up with a small supply of gifts, usually a 6-month or year supply of gifts. We ship it to you on hand, so you have it right there ready to go. And we bill you over time for that too, so it's easy on cash flow. So when you have a need for a gift, closing gift, referral gift, a pop by, a VIP past client gift, you can grab it, go give it. It's done. And you can always personalize and add to, but you're not beholden to that. And so all of our gifts range, like I said, from 70 to 270, from pizza cutters we can engrave that you can give on pizza, give with pizza on move-in day, to the Cutco spreader, which is, oh, sorry for the Remax logo there, silly me, to single pieces you can put in the basket, or you can put in our wine box, which I'm going to show you actually a picture of here. You can present however you like. We actually put a piece of your choice right in there in a gratitude box, and you can add wine or olive oil if they don't drink, or cheese and crackers to the side. We thought sharp knives and alcohol is a really good idea. To 2-piece packages you guys can grab, go, give, done, and double the impact right there. Okay, so here's what I'm going to end on, is we're going to do a draw. I'm not going to do it live, but everybody who texts me is going to get in the draw to win a $100 piece of Cutco, but don't text me yet. Okay, there's some specific instructions. Here's what I need from you. Just if I'm not already in your phone, just put me in your contacts, Vonny Fast. Maybe Mike, you can pop my phone number in the chat and my name too. It's 403-804-2603. All right, so just make sure I'm in your phone first. Don't text me quite yet, but everybody who texts me is going to get into this draw. I wanted to do something a little special for you guys today. So pop me in there, Vonny Fast, 403-804-2603, my name and number are on the slide. So here's what I need from you guys, is this is what we're going to do, is if you have some interest in the gifts, want more information, want some pricing, possibly want to look at an order, text me right now your name and the word sharp, okay? And that'll indicate to me to follow up with you, get you all the information that you need. We might talk on Zoom or on the phone, or at least I'll get you all the info that you need, okay? So text me your name and the word sharp, and I'll follow up with you. And if you have urgency for gifts, like you need gifts in the next couple months, put a star on your text thread to me. I promise you guys I'll follow up with everybody, but we're extremely busy right now, and there's a lot of you on here. So that'll just help me prioritize to follow up. And you're automatically going to be entered into the draw with that text, okay? So text me your name and the word sharp if you're curious and interested. And if you haven't texted me yet, that's fine. Just text me your name and the word draw, and I'll make sure you get into the draw.
And what's the draw? Sorry, Vonny. What am I drawing? What are you drawing?
Yeah, we're gonna do a draw for $100. Like it's called the little knife that could. It's the most popular knife we make. It's tomatoes, lemons, limes, oranges, you name it. It'll stay sharp 7 to 10 years on average, no maintenance, guaranteed forever. It's one of the most popular knives we make for sure. So that's what I thought we could do today for everybody. So
knife plus one solid relationship with Vonny.
That's right. Yeah, that's the intangible awesomeness of all of this. And then I get to know all of you guys. So oh, and one thing I thought I would do too is anybody that plays for a special as a thank you to you guys, not as a pressure, this is a thank you reward. Anybody that ends up placing a gift order with us, with me before Monday next week, we're going to buy you $125 in Cutco with your gift order as a thank you to you to start your collection. And I wanted to make sure
Nice. Yeah. Slip that one in there.
Yeah. And one last thing, if you already work with a Cutco rep and you text me or whatever, I'll make sure I'll forward you on to the Cutco rep you work with so they can quote you directly as well. So, but you'll for sure get in the draw. So
pick up the phone and call. Love on your tribe.
Yep.
And practice your ask and plant the seed before you ask. I absolutely love that. Know your value. Know that you bring value. Again, in this respect, I'm just going to point out what Vonny's doing here. She knows there's value in what she brings to you. And so what she's done is you're going to take that value. And, I love even the way you talked about it here. I'm just going to decompress it a little bit, but saying,
okay. Sure.
What do we know is the pressure? I know a lot of realtors out there who are always worried about their closing gifts. What if I could take that pressure away? What if I could remove that, right? And think about the same thing in terms of that when you're calling your clients and the value you bring.
Right.
Like I said last, I told a lot of agents last year, just call your clients and ask if they need something. Do they need help? We need an electrician. we were getting our insulation redone, and you know what? It was so much harder. And I said, just call them. Hey, do you need an electrician? Do you need something? Do you need some work done around the house? Because these days, you know, our backs are all sore. You see Vonny's sit stand station that, like, as she admitted earlier, she wasn't using enough, but our backs are all sore from sitting at these desks that we're not
Totally.
used to sitting at, right?
Right. Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I hope you pop the chat back open. You can see some people. You can, I
Thank
guess,
you, guys.
I see some advocates here, by the way, just saying how amazing you are.
Oh,
Thanks,
thank you.
thanks for the great call. Know your value. Thanks, Vonny and Mike. Love this today. I, I always like to say, firstly, thank you guys, firstly, for showing up. Vonny and I could sit here and chat for an hour, but we're glad to, we want you guys to get it. And,
Yeah.
in that respect, if we encourage half of you guys to go out and call that person you haven't talked to in a little while and say, hey, how's it going? Right? What was
Yep.
the script? I was thinking of you, and it's been a long time since we've talked. How
Yep.
are you doing?
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
Deal with that elephant.
Yeah.
And so thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah.
Vonny, thank you so much for your time and energy.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a pleasure. And I was going to say to people that are texting, if you have a text thread going, I see a lot of texts. So thank you so much. I'll follow up with everybody. If you want scripts, indicate in your text thread to me script. I will make sure you get a script somehow, whether we, yeah. Yeah.
You just wanted to test the limits of your phone, I see.
I think it's gonna, yeah.
You're like, I wonder how many texts I can get. Let's find out the limits of these cell networks these days.
I need a texting app, apparently.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
And I really appreciate, again, this is something that I think you kind of said it before, and you said it near the start of, this isn't, maybe it's something you even said, maybe this is something you heard before, but it's always good to get that reminder that we got to do those things. Print out your list if you need to. You did that for your own accountability, right?
It was easier than on digital for me. I just print off list, just boom, just, yeah.
Yeah, but it was also because that way you knew if you didn't cross somebody out, you knew, oh man, I'm going to have to get back and cross that name out at some point, right?
Totally, right? Yeah.
Now, I had one question for you, Vonny, that I'm curious about. Sorry, I forgot to ask, but we talked about we talked about, those top 20%.
Yeah.
How often are you evaluating that? And I mean,
yeah,
and this is like selfish. Okay. This is purely selfish because I know myself, I would have no problem elevating somebody into a gold group.
Yep.
But I would feel guilty as hell demoting somebody out of it.
I know. And
okay?
I actually, it's so funny. Like, some of it is not as objective as I'd like it to be, as I've noticed. There's some subjective. And, I think sometimes people also, how do you,
well, the question is, at one point you have time, right? There's X hours in the day. You have time. There's only so many people that you can love to that degree, right? So I mean, is it an exercise that you just at the end of the year or throughout the year you kind of go and say, hey, because there is also that question of, like you said, there is also a personal accountability. Sometimes you look at somebody who's part of your gold group or and you realize it's my fault, right? Like, I'm not the one who's doing enough to engage them to keep them in that gold group.
True. I always think it's my responsibility to build that relationship. Like, I'm in charge of my own business. I'm the one that cares the most about, care the most about my people, my clients.
So how often are you evaluating?
Yeah, you know what? There was a time, like, I wouldn't say I do it every single year, but there's been times I've gone through my list, my gold group list, and realized, I'm like, oh, this person has retired. They're no longer in the business. So I'm going to I put them into a past goal. Like, this person hasn't ordered in 3 years somehow, and I'll try to re-engage or whatever. They
like
might
an antique gold, something like that. Just
gold. I put them in a past gold. And so I'm just going to interact with them a little differently, but mostly, and a lot of times, like, I'm so proud. We have like a very high reorder rate among our clients, which I think I'm very, very proud of. So it's very odd for somebody to kind of fall off of doing some people fall off of it and come back to it and things like that. There's been that, but sometimes it's just the very fact that they're in my business dealing with realtors, they're retired or they've moved on from the business, right? For some reason. So, sometimes it's just a cue for me to get more engaged with them and check in on, where they're at in their life and in their business, right? But yeah, there's definitely been people I've taken off the list because they've moved on for some reason from the industry, or maybe just are trying something different with their gifts and are going to come, they'll come back around later maybe, or whatever. But yeah, we just, but I wouldn't say I'd go through it every year, but I've definitely done things where I'll, print off my 250 top clients and I'll go through and I'm like, oh, this person's not, we're not going to mail them that because, they're out of the business. Right. So I do once every couple of years, I would say I probably go through that.
Like a sleepless night afterwards. I can't believe, oh. But, I appreciate that because I think, there's always the two sides. And
So
there's the new agent
transparent.
who's, well, the new agent who's looking to say, hey, how do I build this? Right. And again, like you said, if you're loving on people, if you're bringing them value, and if you're bringing them value, you know it. Right. And then for those experienced agents who, who are saying, hey, I've had agents who say, I built my business from referral, but boy, like I don't have time for anything else. Right. And so he goes, okay, we have to, we got to think sometimes there are tough decisions to be made. So Vonny, thanks for taking my last question.
Yeah. That was yeah, I'm very transparent. Once every couple of years, it's not super objective, you guys. I don't have set criteria for totally everything, but
yeah,
you got 3 to 4 orders. You're in the gold group. Sometimes we'll take you off if you're retired. You get it. You get it.
But like you said,
like yours, it's people. It's unpredictable sometimes, but.
And to tie it all the way back to that start of the circle, like you said, with Scott Stratton's quote is, if you're in the relationship business, then build relationships.
Yep.
And you realize that, like you said, it's your responsibility in some ways to say, hey, I want to maintain that relationship. Yep. So I love it. Yep. Vonny, I could talk to you all day, but I can't.
Yeah, I know.
You got other stuff to do.
Finish this thing, right?
So thank you so much.
Thank you again.
And I'll be sure again in the follow-up email, I'll be sure to send off the to send off your phone number and those instructions. So that way some people, because a few people did have to drop off a little bit. So that will go tomorrow. Okay. So just so you know that. And
so I might get a few more texts coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. So don't be surprised.
Yep.
And thank you so much. And we'll see everybody all next time.